Government mission in Sussex. Oh, it's this. I mean, that's fine. They can take these three. Those I'll take fighting. We are going to want to do something about Lancashire and Yorkshire, though. Well, we have support enough where we can be fairly safe in keeping that. I feel like I forgot to do the 7, which is a bit annoying. Or else they're countering it, so it looks like West Midlands and East Midlands were actually rising pretty quickly. While much of Europe seems to be in the right without dawn, over Croatia a red star rises. Forces of the partisan Josip Broz Tito, a hero for all the oppressed peoples of the Balkans, the boogeyman of the Italian occupiers, and notable cause of civilian casualties, have finally triumphed in Croatia as the new administration cements itself in Zagreb. Already lists of reactionaries and collaborators are being drawn up for detention and re-education. Though many of the accused were undoubtedly party to the crimes of the Italian occupiers and the Ustadzi, others were quite possibly in the wrong place at the wrong time. The communist takeover is certainly not the end of the Croatian state, but it is perhaps a wilting of the national spirit. The populace seems enthusiastic for both the reprisals as well as the ongoing conflict with Italy, but the long-term feasibility of both these policies is certainly questionable. What will the future bring? Has the release of CK3 been good for my content? Yes. Yes, it has. My third most viewed video on YouTube, which released only a month ago, is CK3 related. Which is quite amazing, because it's got 60,000 views in 3 weeks. Whereas the other 2 videos that have 60,000 plus have been around for like 3 years. Right, so we can go under their noses. We're going... No, we're not in those areas. Flood of volunteers, that's again in the south. SAS terror bombing. We get more guns, we get more political power. I think we're going to do Sterling, then we'll probably do Claude. Most of the HMMLR don't want to be involved in the shady stuff. Can't blame them, as it's all horrible work. Bombs in trader cars, men with guns waiting on unfortunate buggers' rooms at night. Makes a gent feel a bit dishonourable, really. Still, they sold us out to the Germans, so it's not as if they didn't earn it. The Reds do the same, if we were honest, but they've had to learn it. Cable Street killed all of their best, and even the bloody Red General can't make new soldiers from thin air like everything else. Sterling taught us to fight the dirty from the start. Give no quarter and receive none. Fight till you're dead and then some more. What makes killing a dozen at a dinner any less honourable than killing 1,000 on a battlefield? A barbaric embrace. Matilda knew it was wrong to a point. Every day there was another article about a man arrested for inhuman acts like kissing his best mate in the showers. What happened a lot in Brighton. She couldn't see anything inhuman about it, but her parents constantly complained about the homophiles at the dinner table. It had been 2 months since she and Olivia began snogging behind the bike sheds. Not before talking, of course. Talking about they'd run away together, escape to America, live in a big city far away from the town, where everyone lived grey lives. There was no place for them in England. The bell rang, jolting her from the warm hazel orbs and the soft pink lips. As everyone walked out the door in unison, Matilda trailed behind. She waited by the wall for the other students to leave. The coast was clear. Matilda snuck around to the secret meeting spot where she caught a subtle sobbing. Olivia was sitting against the wall in almost fetal position, face nestled in the legs. "Olivia?" Matilda whispered. Olivia sniffed. "Oh, I'm scared." Matilda kneeled down and put her love in an embrace. "Why is that?" she asked gently. At least she hoped she was asking gently. "My dad, he went on and on last night about homophiles. Olivia sniffed again, rubbing tears from her bloodshot hazel eyes. "I'm scared we won't be able to stay together. I'm so scared." Matilda had never seen Olivia like this, so utterly small and scared. She was the only thing keeping her stable in this miserable and dull life. She just... "I love you, Olivia, and I'll always be with you." "I love you too." The Battle of Portman Road. Supposedly it all started with spilled pint. For a long time, Burnley FC fans pushed the limits of what would be considered acceptable even for English football. More than once, policemen with truncheons had to chase out fans holding God Save the Queen banners and flying the pre-war English flag. The beer dumped on the officers and the shoves they encountered trying to catch those unruly hooligans was all in good sport. But as the Premier League finals approached, things started to get nastier. The things flew higher, the chants were louder, and the pushes turned to punches. Everything would have been fine had Ipswich Town FC managed to win. The club, and most of the town, were known to support the government. Come what may, and a thrashing might have shut the Clarets up for a couple of good months, but that was not to be. A long pass down the field by Angus allowed for Walker to cross over to Harris, a Burnley favourite and winking HMMLR supporter. This last pass would forever be debated amongst the football circles. Was it offside? What if it hadn't been Harris that scored? Were the ref's secret HMMLR supporters or paid off by the resistance members? But as Harris jumped across the field in a victory after the goal, none of this mattered to the Burnley fans, and shortly after the roars died down, the chanting started. Krats, 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 wherever you may be, sod right off to your own country. Shortly thereafter, the two sections soon crashed against each other, red against blue in a maelstrom of disorganised violence. Fans poured out onto the field or were thrown over the stands. By the time order had been restored, the match was cancelled. 2 were dead and dozens more seriously injured in what will forever be known as the Battle of Portman Road. It's out in the open now. Sounds like a Scottish match. Sounds like an English match too, to be fair. Ah, do I have more? Yes, I do. Crap. Oh no, we've lost Newcastle. How? Okay, so we need to apparently maintain more than 70% to maintain control of the north. So unfortunately we can't invest in Newcastle's stability. They're also hitting Lancashire really hard, and that cannot be allowed to happen. So let's have the cells expanding in each of those. And let's also expand the cells in each of these. Not bothering with East Anglia. East Anglia can fall to the Reds. OFN relations are now high, but now that we've kind of lost Newcastle, that's not a good thing. Yeah, we're expanding a lot of cells right now. Who's leading Britain in this timeline? That would be Alexander Douglas Home. I should really double check when the date is when I can actually start doing new things. Because even though these take less than a month, it's every month that I can do these. On a crisp and quiet morning, MP Howard Trobbard put a key in his car ignition to go to work in the House of Lords. Not a second later, he was engulfed in a horrific fireball. As our brave London officers descended on the quiet suburbs of Bexley, the remnants of the attack painted a vile picture. 4 people were killed by the massive explosion, including Trobbard's recently hired groundskeeper. Just across the street lay a dark beret with a winged dagger, leaving no questions as to the involvement of the SAS in this evil attack. Months of heavy crackdowns on the rebels have not altered these disgusting acts of violence. With them becoming so frequent, Londoners are beginning to refer to them as the dinner bell bombings. There's no question that we're in a struggle for all that is good and moral on these isles, and if we do not decisively move to cut off the head of this terrorist snake, then the murder of innocent men and women will simply become a fact of life. Smoke 'em out. Brazil wins the World Cup final. In 1962, the FIFA World Cup was today drawn in a close 3-1 victory of the defending champions Brazil over Hungary in Santiago. Whilst Chile's ability to host the 1962 World Cup had been questioned following a devastating earthquake in the country 2 years ago, the Chilean effort to rebuild and complete the preparations earned international admiration. The tournament became marred in controversy, however, when the violent clashes erupting between the Italian and Chilean teams in what the media has labelled the Battle of Santiago. Local police forces were later required when violence erupted between German and Hungarian fans following the German semi-final 2-1 defeat against Hungary, with Germany finishing in 4th place after going on to lose the 3rd place playoff against the hosts Chile. Congratulations to the champions. The collapse of the Triumvirate. In the wake of the bombing of the Triumvirate Conference in Malta, it would appear as though whatever chances the fragile alliance had went down in flames. The incident proving to be the final straw for many. Both the Caudillos and the Turkish president have now declared their respective countries' desire to leave the alliance. With 2 of the alliance's 3 major powers leaving, it is safe to say the days of the Triumvirate are over. Already, Turkey has made fresh calls for its territorial rights and ambitions in the region to be respected, particularly in regard to Cyprus and the Levant, with the Italian military being mobilised in response to Turkish movements in Syria. On their part, the Iberians have expressed little desire to keep up the significant relations with their former allies, Iberia instead looking inwards towards its own problems. It was just a matter of time. Infantry weapon improvements. Okay, so we got the explosions. O'Dares wins. We get more guns. David Sterling and Arthur Harris have ensured that the rebellion's forces will not lack for elite troops and tactical advantages. A bright spot in a group characterised as a ragtag bunch of untrained rebels and paramilitary units. Their SAS has been feared by the Germans and collaborators alike for many years, and the recent unveiling of their own air force has certainly caused a great deal of consternation amongst the enemy. They've had many tricks up their sleeves as the promise will save England, but their effectiveness remains to be seen. We have an air force? Heck yeah! "100 guns is worthwhile." Yes. Because you spend guns on the resistance actions. Okay, so relations with the United States is pretty high at the moment. No, I think we need more stability. Oh, these are the government missions. They can just keep on doing them. Repeat, 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 repeat. I don't have that ability. I can do them only once a month. Oh, technology. So, what do we want? 1958 guns, I think that probably makes sense. Let's go for the improved infantry rifles. Ah, now we can do them again. So, Newcastle is definitely having a couple of problems. They've absolutely hammered the support here. Okay. More cells. More cells. More cells. I think basically this is just going to be cells freaking everywhere. We still have 390 available. OFN relations are high. And a barbaric request. Olivia met Matilda almost 2 years ago in the dingy bowels of a secondary school. Matilda seemed quite lonely, so Olivia hoped that she could give her comfort. Within 3 weeks they were flirting. Within 4 months they were in love. Most of their secret courtship occurred behind the empty bike sheds at school, empty for a lack of bikes students can afford. Today was the last day of sixth form for them both. The rest of the students had cleared off, and there she was behind the bike sheds waiting again. Olivia always arrived first. Matilda was always the careful one. Olivia wondered how she'd take the big news, but Matilda always promised to be with her after all. And there she was. Matilda trudged along the corner looking clearly exhausted after a difficult final exam. She sat down next to Olivia and leant in her shoulder, breathing out. "You look tense," said Olivia smilingly. Matilda, smiling already, laughed a tad. That could be considered an understatement. "How do you assume you did?" she replied. Why bother? Probably failed. But, darling, What is it, Olivia? Matilda said quizzically, moving up from Olivia's shoulder. I want to join the resistance. The terrorists? Why would you ever want to join that awful organisation? Olivia, you should know better than that. They aren't terrorists. Listen, I have a mate in the resistance. His name is Paul. The government's only lied and spread mistruths about him, and I want to fight for what's right. Olivia, you can't. Matty, you know there's no future for us like this. We'll be found out. We'll be put in prison, or we'll be shot first, and if I'm getting shot, I'd rather be shot making a difference to this ghastly place. Please, 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 come with me. For me, at least. Olivia clasped Matilda's hands and stared deeply into her pretty blue eyes. For us. Matilda stared... This is so weird doing this in a proper East London accent. Matilda stared at the wall and thought about it for a couple of moments. She opened her mouth as to say something. I'm coming with you. For us. Turkey declared war on Il Governmento del Levante. Ever since the Second World War ended, Turkey has never been pleased with their share in the spoils. Far too many Turks ended on the outside of their borders. These long, simmering tensions have exploded today as the Turkish president, Alparslan Türkeş, has announced that a state of war now exists between the Turkish Republic and the Italian Empire. Despite their former allies, the war has already been proven extremely popular in Turkey. Young nationalists and party members march through the streets in Ankara, calling on Türkeş to lead us to victory. Comparatively, in Italy, the public has shown little to no support for the war, with many questioning why Italy is even in Cyprus for the first place. What a way to treat a former allies. Who wins? Who dares wins? Okay, so a couple of tongues will lose us some manpower, but will give us a bunch of political power. Careless lips sink ships. That's what the government told us before they turned out to be traitors anyway. Still, the particular nugget of wisdom applies now more than ever. Half the reason the Reds failed at Cable Street is their comms lack sophistication. Compromised months before the showdown, the traitors were waiting with guns at the ready when the revolution began. Sterling isn't the nicest boss, but he knows what's what. You don't just catch the spies and throw them into the sea anymore. You've got to find out what they told the traitors first. If they don't want to talk, well, we might not be elegant in our means, but we know how to make a lovely example. What are you missing? Again, we're the resistance. We are not England. We are the guys trying to take over England. I'm guessing that they just don't have the means to change this stuff. Probably because you have to actually own a country. I'm actually somewhat surprised the resistance doesn't have a single province in Newcastle, and then they spread their influence that way. Although I must say the interface on this is pretty cool. I forgot to check when my month is up again. Curses. The Italian Empire declared war on Yugoslavia, so the Italians are fighting Yugoslavians and the Turks at the same time. Huh. Sixth, thank you. Oh, 6th or the 7th. Government mission in Newcastle. Go away. Nobody likes you here. I wonder if their effectiveness is reduced or something if we have high support. Yeah, see, they can immediately undertake a second one. I can't. That's what's absolutely hammering me. A couple of tongues. Alright, let's do under their noses. Or we can start working on Claude's strategy. No, we should probably start working on Claude's... Which one of these are we doing? I think we've kind of got to do staying in the north. So we can get that stability and start actually shipping guns in. Yeah, we've got to start doing this. The HMMLR is, despite the name, not united by a dedication to the restoration of the Queen, even if a significant portion of the membership supports it. In a movement with communists, Republicans, and even a handful of fascists who have seen the light, what unites the HMMLR is the figure of Claude Auchinleck. Known to most simply as the boss, almost nobody outside the HMMLR's upper ranks is aware the former general turned MP leads the greatest rebel group in the Isles. They would like to keep it that way. Clawdork and Lecker united those who believe in a free England through sheer unwavering will, and he has kept his position by keeping the movement alive despite many attempts by the collaborationist government to ensure the opposite. The HMMLR answers to Auchinleck and to no one else. Okay, it's the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. It's on the 6th that I can do this. Okay, so Newcastle for the time being is secure again, so we can try to increase their stability, although their stability was reduced. Newcastle in general is just struggling a bit. I think I've got to keep the monthly trend up. Now the area we're winning is everywhere that's not the north. So we're not trying really for... Well, actually, yeah, we probably should be trying for Gloucestershire. Yeah, we're getting quite a lot of power here in the Midlands, which the government's going to have to spend quite a lot to counteract. So maybe my stuff is cheaper, but they can do more. And we can also get... Man, we have to keep on repeating this. And it's not cheap. Government loves stacking control over time. Yeah, and they are doing that aggressively. See, government mission Lancashire, here they come. I mean, they're only doing it in the north, but that's proving to be annoyingly effective because it means I can't increase our stability. Matilda and Olivia walked together through the busy Brighton crowd on a rainy day, following a man in a yellow raincoat. He turned and stopped at a small innocuous-looking shop in the middle of the street called Montague's Antiques, gesturing towards the girls to come with him. Inside, there was a man looking to be in his 50s reading the newspaper at a till. The man in the raincoat searches the shop to see if there's anyone else around. He turns toward the person reading the newspaper. They whisper together for a second. The man at the till nods and he opens a door slightly hidden behind some clutter. The man in the raincoat nods to the girls to follow and gestures the girls to mind the step as they enter. They enter a small dingy room with another man at the table at the back. The man looks around slightly and looks at the man in the raincoat derisively. 2 women, Paul, he snickers. Oh, come on, Jeffries. It's not like they're the first you've taken in, Paul said, pulling aside the hood of his raincoat. Olivia tries to speak up, but is interrupted. We're supposed to be protecting the women and the children. You bring me 2 girls? Jeffries, they can fire a gun. That's all you need, isn't it? I suppose, Jeffries mused. He looks up at the girls. Names. Olivia piped up first. Olivia Adler. Very good. And you? He said, pointing his pen at Matilda. Matilda Lewis. Mm-hmm. And so it went. Jeffries asked the women questions. They answered. They ranged from the obvious to the obscure, but in the end it came down to one question. Are you prepared to give anything for a free England? Yes, I am. I am. Excellent, ladies. Welcome to Her Majesty's most loyal resistance. Thank you very much. You can build in multiple places at once. Oh, we are. We definitely are. So right now Mordred's playing an analogue to the pre-Civil War Spain in the base game. Yeah, basically. In my USA game I supported the HMMLR heavily, but they were defeated, but I never lost the ability to sink power points into decision to support the HMMLR. Interesting. Well, they don't seem to be supporting me very much yet, which is a wee bit irritating. Okay, so the leader speaks or the flood of volunteers? I think we're going to go leader speaks and then we'll start hammering everything else. We're going to get a plus 30 stability in Lancashire. Hang on. What's that, Lancashire? Stay in the north. That is Newcastle and Yorkshire. No, it's not. Although with these two, we are going to get those three. So, the leader speaks. Political power plus 50. Propaganda has a value, something Auchinleck has come to know quite keenly in the fight for the English liberation. But, when all the general public knows of the HMMLR's rumoured leader as a shadowy figure playing chessmaster, it might be understandable that they feel uneasy about him. So, Auchinleck took the risk of making his first public speech to the HMMLR membership. With a scarf concealing his identity and some deliberate altering of the recorded audio, no one will ever guess this mild-mannered MP from Hampshire is the one addressing a hall of HMMLR's most notorious militants. It is a speech that delves into many topics: the ruination of English soil, the unjust imprisonment of martyrs, the corruption of the institutions once respected. But at the end, the hall and many people in their homes have but one thing to say: God save the Queen! Start. And now we've lost our support everywhere. Uh-oh! Although it has to be said, we are very close to taking it back. So I think Lancashire is going to get the plus 2.5, which is actually going to be enough to shift us back into control. And then you two... Oh, Newcastle could too, actually. So stability boost would get us up to 70% state stability. Okay. So Lancashire... Still only the first. The USA declared war on Guyana. Third. Fourth. Fifth. Right, so Lancashire... really needs to just stop them spreading here. Go away! And then Newcastle can probably do the propaganda campaign to just gain the 2.5. Although 2.5 is 2.5 months... well, no. 7 months worth. 5 months worth, I can count. So I think that actually this... is a better cost right now. And we're just going to ramp up control of these areas. Just make them really hard to fight back against. How are we doing for guns? We are down to 330.